start recording and let's see if we're going to have the participants back. So once we're there, that's when it really gets interesting. So we will get to visit the companies. You will see their production facilities and whatever they do, meet the management. If it's your client, obviously you'll be able to ask questions, but if it's somebody else, that's fine, still interesting. And it will be pretty much the whole day. Last time in Miami, it was the whole day on the bus, so we visited.
I think that's what I've seen as a schedule.
Yeah, Miami International Airport, then Port of Miami, then met with the management of the company, so it was a lot of stuff. And then Hard Rock International towards the end of the, so it will be roughly the same thing this time. And I'm not sure how much else we will be able to do on that day other than lunch, somewhere between the visits and breakfast and dinner. And yeah, and then, for the rest of the day, if we have time, we start working on your challenges. And as I said, some teams will come almost fully prepared and we'll just have to do a little touch-ups. And others like, so what do we do? What's the client? Oh, we decided on this one. So we'll see how it goes. And then, same thing next day, next day, next day. So one of the problems we had in Miami when we looked at the feedback, we packed so much into the program that one of the only negative comment we saw was that we spent almost a whole week 20 minutes away from the ocean and we never had a chance to dip our feet in the water. And so you should allow a little bit more free time. And I guess it makes sense. So this time they plan on having at least a few evenings where you can do something on your own. You will be about 20 minutes away from the Mediterranean Sea and you will be in one of the oldest cities. And they claim they have the oldest university. I'm not sure if it's true. They're almost 1,000 years old. So I don't know. I'm sure there are 20 other schools that say the same thing about themselves. But apparently it's a beautiful campus and a nice city. So there will be basically work during the day. So we'll do things like all kinds of seminars on, from little things like how to write a resume and how to write a cover letter to more interesting things like, for example, one of the most popular is an elevator pitch competition. So what we do is we take real executives and put them in elevators and like literally for half a day they just ride up and down, and you walk in the elevator and say, oh, hi, aren't you the CEO of that company? Yes, I am. You know what, I've had this idea, can I? And you have literally like 80 seconds before you get to, floor 10. And so you try to sell the idea. And so the way we do it is you get a little training, how to do it, and then you get to do it several times. Then we take a little break, they give you feedback, and then we do it all over again. And so by the time we are done, you've done it like 10 times or 15 times, and they've seen 50 people. And then first they will provide some feedback and also select the best pitcher. And then you, if by any chance, you're looking for a job or maybe have a brilliant idea and you would like to, an investor. So if you happen to ride in an elevator with a person who can hire you, can give you money, you will not be lost and you'll know exactly what to say. And you will have rehearsed it many times. So that is an interesting activity. And then we'll have a bunch of meetings with the local entrepreneurs. And for example, apparently this time the city mayor is a big fan of the event. So it's not a big city. And so for them, it's a big deal. So I'm not sure if it's going to be both reception and closing ceremony or just one of those, but one of those big events will be literally in the mayor's office. Oh. And so we get to meet his.
We'll get to keep the city.
Yeah. So yeah, who knows? Then we'll see how it goes. So things like that. Yeah. So if you bring your kids with you, I know some families are coming with kids, so I'm sure there will be enough of them so that they can keep company. So yeah. But that's the program, and so obviously, lunch, breakfast, dinner together. That's also a lot of time, fun, and people get to know each other. And some people will be falling in love, and I know when they are, partying, there's lots of cries. Some people actually stay in touch. So we had a few students from Colombia who visited a student here at UNCG, and so apparently they, develop relationships, and so that's fine too. I'm not sure how it's going to go this time with job offers. Last time I know UPS was one of the sponsors, and they offered 6 jobs in the consecutive months. And then also Hard Rock International ended up having 2 people, one still worked there. So we talked about so long ago. So it's not the goal for us to make sure that everybody gets a job offer. In fact, that would be impossible. But since we will be meeting with real companies, if you're open to the idea of working in Italy, you have a chance to impress, potential employers, maybe an internship and stuff. So at least every time it always led to some people getting some sort of a contact, and for them it led to something. But even if not, it's, at least at the very least you will have, the experience of being in a different country, meeting all kinds of business people, as well as things like, for example, competing in a project yet again in an international team, this time also working face-to-face. So it looks good on your resume. We will also have special awards for the best team and then people who win the elevator pitch competition. I think last time they had a resume competition, so you all come with a resume. They will have a webinar before the meeting, so where they will look at your resume, provide feedback. You work on this some more, you have another session face-to-face, work some more, and then finally submit your final clean resume and cover letter. And then some judges, professors will look at that and eventually say, okay, this is the biggest improvement, the best resume. So you can even win that competition. It's like little fun prizes in the end. Yeah, things like that. And so in the end, all I can say that when we looked at the list of people who applied this time, 92, at least 92 names that I recognized out of 150 that attended last year applied to come again. And even though it's a quite expensive proposition, so with all the airfare and stuff, it's close to $2,000 total. And so apparently so many wanted to come back, so I guess something went right last time. I wish, all 150 applied, but the problem again is that, especially those who apply for travel stipends, the challenge becomes, so how do you say no to the good old friends whom you met in Miami, DC, or Tampa, wherever else we have the meetings? And at the same time, you want to rotate people because we have 50,000 graduates. You can't really stick with the same good old friends all the time. So I know that some are a little upset because, what do you mean? We had so much fun together. How can you say no to me? So, but I guess that's the point. But yeah, that's the idea. I'll share with you also one thing that I find especially amusing. So if you go to Xculture, and those who are watching online, let me share my screen with you so you can see what I'm showing. Some of the pictures from the last event, but also just some interesting stuff that develops on its own. Like I never thought that it would be, would happen, but anyway, people take a lot of photos. One semester, I remember, I asked people to upload, just a second. Yeah. One semester, I asked people to upload their pictures to my Dropbox, and some of them dumped everything and anything they had. All I can say that they had a lot of fun, and some of those pictures probably the parents wouldn't want to see. But some of the interesting stuff is, so first time I saw this picture, this is the first known picture, like people send me pictures like this. I'm like, what does it mean? Like, what's wrong with them? And then somebody says, oh, that's the Xculture. But over time, so that's like from 2013, over time people developed all kinds of, like access when they photograph. Like this is usually when they're still shy and just like a little uncomfortable. And then, so something like this, and then they, the access get bigger and bigger. And then at some point, yeah, this one is Xculture rocks, I believe, or this one rocks, I don't know what it means. But then at some point people go really crazy and start, like showing all kinds of things. And then, low X, high X. And sometimes they even go, like I believe I have the biggest X possible somewhere. Yeah, so that's Xculture rocks. That's when people start getting in love. So that's how they signal that they kind of like each other. So yeah, so, and then sometimes they literally make an X like this one. So, and I think this is the biggest one. I guess it's a little too big for this picture, for this screen. But yeah, literally this one had almost 150 people here, everybody who attended. So some fun things like that happen too. But yeah, so that's the idea. And so this time, we usually have a couple of students from UNCG, but most of the time it's in the United States. And so it's usually relatively easy to get there. I think in Miami, there was one group that drove together, so shared a car. But this time it's a little farther away, and also a larger group coming this time. We have a total of 16 or 17 from the UNCG who were invited. I've got confirmations from about 1,000 of them at this time, and a couple of them apparently still hasn't. I'm not sure if they can afford it. So, but it seems like it will be a fairly large group. And so, one, it makes sense to coordinate. On the other hand, it's also a long trip, and especially complicated this time is that there is no easy way to get like airport to airport. So this time, the closest airport there is like almost an hour away or something like that, 40 minutes away. And it's not necessarily even a best airport. I checked literally today before coming here the best flights, and it seems like flying Greensboro to Ancona, so it's like $1,600, the cheapest one.
When I was talking to Doug, he said, well, sometimes flying close is not as cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and there's a lot of layovers, like in Italy, and my mom said you have to like go through customs multiple times to do that.
Right.
But from RDU to Rome, I found something like 1,400.
Yeah, I actually checked today, literally an hour ago. If you fly from Atlanta to Rome, 11 something. So as of this morning, so I checked for.
That's not a far drive.
Yeah, so Atlanta is still about 6 hours away, but 4 hours.
We're going to go a week early, and we're going to Florence.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll be, going from Florence to, or wherever we are at the time, probably Florence. So, but that's about 4 hours.
I would like to use this opportunity to explore Southern Europe, so I don't really care what city I fly to because I'm still planning to drive at least 1,000 K. So what I decided to do is to drive to New York, leave my van in parking there. So if you park a little further away from campus, from airport, you can find very cheap parking spaces, like $3 a day, $4 a day long-term parking. And then flying to Zurich, it's only $512 that I paid. And then since I was planning to drive, in that area anyway, so it doesn't matter to me if I start from Zurich, go to Macerata and then back, or go from Macerata to Zurich and back. And so this way it's a little cheaper, in fact, much cheaper. And it's a direct flight. So just so you know, you just get in New York on the flight, get off in Zurich. And so you seem like more than 18-year-olds, so you shouldn't have problems with driving. So that might be an option if you, I don't know how much they will cost today. I bought mine like 10 days ago or 12 days ago. So, but if you wanted to try that, I'm not sure if you want to drive all the way to New York, but if you go from New York, Zurich, for example, it actually, and then just,
yeah.
and so if you go to Zurich, you have Geneva right there. You have Milan on your way to Macerata. You have Venice if you go east, and you have Pisa if you go west. So if you want to, get the tower and get the, what do you call it? Gondolas, or what do you call those?
Oh, in Venice. Yeah.
So, and it's not such a long drive. It's like, 7 hours total. So it's basically like going from here to DC and back. So, by European standards, it's like a whole different country, but, and it's a nice drive. So I've done it before from Germany to Milan. And so you go through the mountains. It's really a beautiful area. You're going through some of the most beautiful places. So if it's a larger group, if you want to do it alone, it probably doesn't make sense, driving all the distance and renting the car just for yourself. But if it's several people, potentially it's not a bad idea. But then again, even if you fly to, let's say, Rome, or if you fly from Rome, or if you fly to Rome, or even that Ancona, so it still might be much more fun to go together. Even if you have to get an Uber from that 45-minute drive and just split it 3 ways, 4 ways, all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, probably going to be $15 per person instead of $45, $50. So from that perspective, it may still be a worthwhile keeping up. So, so I'm not sure. Have you bought the tickets?
Yeah, we already got it. Doug was in Florence, and he said they didn't have it.
I did check out. Yeah, I checked. Well, Uber allows you now to put any destinations and check how much it would cost if you drive today. So I checked from Rome, it's about $120, something like that. So it's not cheap, but it's, if it's 4 people, might as well work, because they have buses, they have trains, but that will probably cost you as much as, sharing Uber with several people. At the same time, if you happen to go to different cities, not a problem at all. So we will have 150 students and almost 30 professors or so coming on that same day, and so plus or minus a day. So if you, as long as you, like I remember in Miami, people literally said, let's just meet at the Miami or Fort Lauderdale. Both the airports are roughly the same distance. And they said, let's just meet at the meeting point, and once we have about 4 people, we'll just go as a group. And they literally had a sign, ex-culture. And so you just stand there, like, for example, we did the same thing in DC. So I exit, I meet my student right away, and then we stay for 5 minutes, and there are 2 more people, and ex-culture, yay! So we just took an Uber, I think, or cab, I can't remember which one, and just, drove to the. So it might be a good idea to do the same thing with whoever, happens to arrive at that time. So yeah, but that's basically, all the logistics. And I'm not sure if you, but we had a
question.
Well, I think before we get into the questions, the most important thing, introductions. So the whole idea was meet and greet. So I guess I introduced the event. Now let's do the introductions. Who wants to start?
I'll go ahead. I'm Lisa McLaughlin, and I'm in the office here in the management department. And I went last year to Miami. I loved it. Got to meet everybody. We're all Facebook friends. We still keep up a little. My husband's going. He's a photographer, so he'll be taking some pictures of everything. He likes to do the elevator pitches.
Mhm.
We did that
Yeah,
one.
he has experience in all kinds of areas
Yeah,
too.
so here, you know.
Yeah, with photography, I'll tell you this, every year, being greedy and low on budget, we always try to use a student with a big camera and ask to take pictures. Last semester, I made arrangements with 3 students. So for one, I brought my own camera and a whole bag with equipment, like microphones, backdrops and stuff. And then there was one from Taiwan with a camera and one from Ukraine. And so the one who got my equipment forgot to use the microphone, so whatever she recorded, I wanted some interviews. The sound was bad. The one from Taiwan, I saw the pictures like half a year after the event for the first time. And the one from Ukraine was fine, but he was so intrusive. Like, you know, no matter where you go, he's always in your face. Like, okay, stage for picture. It was almost to the point that every time you see him with the camera, you just run away because you know he will work for you for like 10 minutes. And then end of the first day, and I see Facebook, and somebody posts like wonderful, beautiful pictures, like 50 of them or so. Lisa's husband. I'm like, oh, that's actually quite good. But I still kind of, you know, okay, maybe he just had fun. And the next day, the same thing. Turns out he's kind of a professional photographer. You never see him. I don't even know when he took those pictures. You never see him. And then you have those beautiful, stunning pictures at the end of the day, all processed, all uploaded. And so this time we just decided, you know what, let's talk to Doug, and maybe we can even, you know, we probably cannot pay him that market value, you know, value, but at least something so cute. Because, you know, there is a big difference between a professional with experience versus a student with a big camera. So, yeah. So, plus, you know, a very interesting man. So, anyway, next.
I'm Will Youngblood, and travel a lot domestically, but never been out of the country, so it should be a good experience. New people, I guess.
Yeah, and Will just took my course, had one of the highest scores in the whole class. So yeah, he is sometimes shy, but definitely very smart. So yes, all right.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tanya Farr. I have not had any classes with you.
So who was your teacher? Karen Linden?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Karen will be there, by the way. So
I
yeah,
heard.
she's attended pretty much all of them or most of them. So and she's heavily involved in preparing the event too.
Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to meeting her.
And you took the course online, right?
I did, yes,
Yes. So that's the challenge. I have like up to 200 students per semester, many online, and then you know I go in the city and they say, "Aren't you that guy from the video lectures?" But you never have a chance other than you know this semester talk face to face. So I guess for Karen that's the same challenge. So yeah, but you'll get to meet her there. Yeah.
Okay. I'm Kristen Brown. I also took your class, but online.
My class?
Semester.
Yeah, that's the case. So that's why I don't recognize the face.
Right. And I'm a stay-at-home mom, you know, doing my degree online. So I'm super excited about this experience because it's a week. You know, maybe I'm going to extend it a little bit, but I get to, you know, go abroad, but not for a whole semester. You know, I never got that experience, so I'm super excited.
And Lauren, if you're still here, can you maybe unmute your microphone and introduce yourself so we know you? I'm not sure if, hope it's not a, yeah. Well, Lauren, if you, oh yeah, okay, so it seems like you're here. Yes, go ahead, please.
So I guess I'm Lauren. I am online completely, and I'm currently spending my summer in Orlando. So I'm actually flying out of Orlando.
By the way, we do have a bunch of people who will be flying out of Orlando. So
really? Okay.
Yes, so in fact, we have quite a large team from Florida in general, but we have several people from the University of Florida Tech. Florida Tech. And then we have several from Johnson and Wales, which is again apparently right. You know, Orlando is a close enough airport, and then we have Miami and Fort Lauderdale. So if you want to team up with people, I can send you the contacts of those who are in Central Florida. So there's a good chance you may have some company there.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I guess really I'm flying the 27th out of Orlando into Ancona.
Yeah, so the easiest flight, yeah.
Yeah.
About 28th, by the way, I believe there is a way to arrive a little earlier. I'm not sure how exactly it will work with the dormitories, but usually they allow you to add a couple of days before and after. And I'm not 100% sure if it's going to be the case this time, but it might be, and it may be just a few extra dollars if you wanted to stay there a little bit longer. So this way you don't have to worry about the hotels and stuff. But I also did check Airbnb, and you can get decent accommodations for like $20, $30, $40 starting at, and so shouldn't be a problem either. All right. Well, and those who
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check it out.
So, all right. Okay. And somebody else joined just now. I don't see the name, but if you can hear us, can you tell us who you are? We don't see the video. And now we see the video, but don't hear the sound. Can you maybe introduce yourself? Tell us who you are. Somebody, but it seems like the connection is quite weak. That's okay. Questions and comments then. So I don't know. Yes.
That was actually a question I had, was about if we could stay in the dormitories the day before.
I think it would be possible. I know we have 14 ambassadors, as they call them, who will arrive a whole week earlier.
Oh, okay.
And they will be staying there for a whole extra week. So I assume there should be room for a few extra people.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% sure, but probably so.
Okay. Is that something you could email us if you were?
Yes, if you send it to global, I guess, then we'll figure that out.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. .org. Yes. One special part of this trip that we haven't done before. So apparently, Macerata is the home turtle of.
The guy here with the diamond. No? Yeah. Okay, chestnut with the diamond. Okay, are the halters, is that one sitting up there?
We didn't even allow us to move the microphone. That's strange. Okay, no matter, doesn't matter. So apparently this is a place where opera originated, at least that's what they claim. And so they have this big thing that looks like a coliseum, and apparently people have been sitting there for like, I don't know, 2,000 years. And so on top of that, it seems like they have this annual opera festival, and so apparently we will be there right at that time. And so according to Ernesto, some people take it as far as, you go to buy a cup of coffee and they sing to you, So I guess, I don't know, that will, and so the price that we pay, that includes a trip to opera. I don't know how much the tickets are.
I'm seeing or hearing the matching.
Yeah, and they just did that here at UNCG recently.
I know.
I wanted to see it, and I missed it. And
I was like, I want to see it there first.
Yeah.
So I intentionally didn't go.
But apparently during that particular week, that's we're talking like world class, it's like World Cup or Super Bowl. So it's not just some random people singing.
Yeah.
It's going to be, people, the class of Pavarotti and whoever else, who is not alive anymore, but, like some serious singers.
Right.
So that's the way, that's the way, to listen to opera.
Oh,
So that's an interesting one too. But yeah, so the only other thing is, so we are working with Leilani. I spoke with her today. So they actually want to have an organized trip to Rome and Venice for those who would like to do it. Probably one a day before and one a day after. So the idea is that most people probably will want to go there. So why not maybe rent a bus and split the cost? And so they're now trying to see how much it will cost if we can get a bus, and then how many people want to do it. And so this way people will not have to think about, how to get there and back, or just get a bus, go to all the major places, Coliseum and whatever else there they have, the Vatican and so on.
So that was Rome before.
Rome and Venice. Both of them are about 2 hours, 2.5 hours away, just in completely opposite directions.
So, and that'll be like the day before the trip.
Yeah, so the idea was that maybe we'll do one a day before, so kind of leave like 8 a.m. as people arrive early and spend the whole day in Rome and come back in time for the dinner. And then maybe the other one in Venice, same thing, just after.
Yeah.
So I suppose some people will probably want to do it on their own, and maybe some people will want to, drive because they fly from there. But in case somebody wants to go back and forth, why not do it centrally? I don't think it will be all 150, but if you have 30, 40 people, I think it's easier to do.
So it'll be a group of the students who are in the conference, I guess. Would it be the group of the students who we all take a bus?
Yeah, so that's the idea, yeah. So we thought it may be, first of all, cheaper, second, safer, and third, maybe just more fun, Like, let's say you want to do it, so you have to make all the arrangements, find the, train or whichever way, and then on the spot, how do you know where to go? And so they have Italian students, locals, who are literally calling local tourism bus tour companies and just trying to see if we can get a whole bus for their,
So that sounds like
Yeah, it probably will not cost more than $40, $50 per person, even if it's more.
if we go early, then we can do something else and do that with the group.
Yeah, so,
That way it's just more fun to
yeah, plus,
not just be the whole, working real hard the whole time.
plus, if you have an organized tour, they know where to go, they know the best, most efficient way to get to all those kind of old places. So they can explain to you as we go from one to another, So plus also driving in a bus, I remember back in Miami, we did some activities, some, introduction. So So, you have 2 hours to kill, and you have a microphone, and all the people are here, so we're not using the word coins. But yeah, that's the idea. So I'm not sure what else.
Well, I would just get as much work done before you get there. So you can just be sort of touching up your project by the time if you can.
That's good advice, because otherwise you'll be stressing what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I mean you want to. I'm sure.
Is there a dress code?
That's a very good question. Yes, let me just see what this comment is here. Did we just add someone, or is it a comment chat? Oh, West Africa. How did they know that we have? Nice to meet you, Senegal. The meeting was supposed to be for people specifically from UNCG, but great that you joined us. And I have no idea what time it is in your time zone. Must be like 1 a.m. probably, but yeah, thank you for joining us. 2 more things that I need to comment on. One, for the first time, we will be running this as an option for credit class. So last time when we were in DC, somebody said if you wanted to take it as, if we did offer it as a full credit, somebody said, can I take it as a course? I'm like, what do you mean? And she says, well, we do have those 1 week long trips abroad, and they count as a course. Can I do this one like this? I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And then another professor says, oh, no, they do it. Talk to your school, see if they, And so we talked to our school here, and they say, yes, we actually even have a course called International Business Experience, and we can put your course as a similar course, and they call it experimental. So they say if enough students sign up, we can make it, regular. And so we put it on the books, and so they specifically registered it as a level 500, which means if you go into the master's program later on, you can count it as a graduate course, and if you're in the undergraduate program, you can count it as an undergraduate course. And the idea is that at least in the undergraduate program, you have a lot of electives, and some students I know take like golf and drama. So why not take this one? And so the deal with this course will be that you do whatever you would do anyway, but then on top of that, in the end, you write a reflection paper. So you basically talk about what you learned. And so they give us this as a full semester, so which means you'll have until December to write the paper. And so we will work with you and try to develop it as good enough to maybe even later publish it somewhere or present at a conference somewhere, or in the very least have it in your portfolio when you apply for jobs. And so they still want you to pay the tuition, which for the in-state will be about $500, which but again, if you have to take something, this may be a good way to go. And at this time, it seems like about 8 people want to do it as a course, including several, by the way, from outside the UNCG. So there is one student from Delaware, and there is one from somewhere in Europe. And so the one in Delaware, they will have some sort of an agreement, so they can, just count that as a course. And the one from Europe, the government pays for them to take courses overseas, so they thought, why not? So, and then several UNCG students. So it's completely optional, but if you want to do it, it may be, a nice way to get 3 credit hours if you still have to do it. And then I can't imagine that after all of that, you still get not an A+. You will have to really, what I mean is that it's not going to be an easy A+, but you will definitely have what to say in that paper. So it shouldn't be too hard to do. And so that's an option. I know Will will be taking it as a course, right? So I'm not sure if you plan to do that. And then also there is a slight chance that we may have some scholarship or what you call it, the travel stipend opportunity from the dean's office. They're still trying to finalize the final numbers. But I did ask you, and I think you already shared with me who needs it and how, and so we'll try to provide some at least support. It will not cover all your expenses, but at least will help those of you who really need it, especially if you're also taking this as a course that's an extra expense, so hopefully there will be a way to do it. So if you haven't talked to me about that and you need it, hopefully we'll be able to find ways to fund you. I'm also talking to the company that participate in Xculture to see if they would be willing to give some money. So hopefully in the end we'll be able to give something to, if not all, to some of them. So, but that's something that we still need to, another day or two before we have the exact numbers. So, but that's almost all.
I asked a question about a dress code earlier.
Oh, yes. Overdressing is better than underdressing, I guess, right? Especially in Europe, it will be hot, I assume. So I guess it may be hard to be. It's easier for ladies; they can just put some blouse and they're formal. But I would definitely bring a tie and a suit just in case. And for most of the events, I'd say a shirt and khaki pants, for example, is probably enough. And then for the evening parties, probably shorts and t-shirt would be good. But for most of the events, you want to look kind of
Yeah, they did pretty much
business
business
casual.
casual last year.
Nobody requires that, and if you show up in, just like this, nobody will kick you out. But since we have so many meetings with officials and entrepreneurs, I guess you want to impress them. So, and most of the stuff we do will be indoors, so I assume AC will be on, so it shouldn't be too hot. So I usually am a little lazy, so I just take a polo short or a short, which probably would be more than sufficient for most events for everybody. But some students always like suit and a tie. So especially those from Asia and Africa, so they always are very, very formal. You can go also if you want to just kind of to get a sense, and those of you who are watching online. So let me share the screen one more time. If you go to
You can see there what they were doing. How they
yeah, so but if you go to Global Symposium, and so we had a bunch of them, but the one in Miami would be the closest fit. That's the same format because the other one's a little bit more research, and I think we have pictures somewhere here. Do we have the photos? Where did we
that next picture that you had on the screen was
yeah, but I thought we also had a separate. Just one second. Actually, you know what I'll do? I actually have the pictures in my computer, so I don't even have to do it. So, X-Culture meetings. Let's take, for example, Miami 17. Where's Miami 17? And go to photos. So just to give you a sense,
there's me.
yeah. So as you see here, most of the people are in suits and ties. These are some of the panels that we had meetings with. That's during one of the lunches, so most of them are just shorts. So here, that's a typical, yeah, by the way, this student was accepted as an MBA student and got a scholarship from our school. He just called me literally 2 hours ago. Yeah, that's, by the way, Doug, if you haven't met him before, so yes. So, but yeah, most seem to be dressed approximately like this. And so, yes. Yeah, that's, trying to get to the fun stuff. So these are some of the sessions that we had. These are the trips, field trips. So as you see, the students are a little bit more casual. So in fact, some are very casual. But
That was the day we tracked.
Yeah. So that's the meeting with American Airlines. So as you see, the presenters are mainly very business. What is it then? Business casual or official, but yeah, some are more. Yeah, but that's the idea. So I guess this is close to what most people dress like. So if you have a polo short, you will not be standing out too much. But then, as you saw, some of them have suits and ties. So I guess that's fine too. But yeah. So that just to give you an idea. Yeah, that's one of those big X's. So yeah. All right. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. So I don't know what else. Yeah, so any other comments, questions? So yes, we should have the final list of participants probably within the next week, and then once we form the teams, try to get to know them. But at the same time, even though it's kind of team-based, at the same time, it's still a larger group, so you don't have to be isolated with your team only. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, if you have questions, send it to that global email. That's when I'm looking at that all the time.
Yeah. So Will, you got your tickets already? No. How about you guys?
I am not.
Yeah, so you might want to coordinate. I'm not sure, if you want to spend them. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to spend some time on Expedia now, but
yeah, I was looking earlier today.
Yeah.
It looked from like 1,400 to like 2,000 something for tickets. So it's like a wide range.
yeah. Well, as I said, so the train to New York and back, overnight train, is about $120. So if you can still get the $500 deal from New York to whatever place, again, it may worth just pay extra $200 for the train, sleep overnight, come to New York, fly from there either to Zurich or Rome, and then so this will come up to a total of about $700 as opposed to $1,200, for example. So again, with one person, it may not necessarily save you too much. In my case, I have to pay for 4 people. My family's coming with me. And so, yeah, and it makes it like, we save literally $2,000 and, making that strange trip. Same thing with DC and Atlanta. So those are major hubs, and it may be cheaper. And the most important thing is it's a direct flight, so I don't have to spend 5 hours here and 5 hours there in different airports. It may even be faster, everything taken together. Or alternatively, if you want to have literally share a car, just drive. In fact, I'm not even driving my car, so we thought about parking the van, but now eventually I decided to rent a car. So if you drive from airport to airport, there is a very, very minimum rental, what is it called, the different location price. So it's like $80. Like normally you can get it for about $25, $30. So I believe they charge like extra $50 for the drive, but again, maybe worthwhile if there are several of you. So instead of buying 4 tickets for the train, you just pay about $100 for the gas, probably even less, and another $100 for the driving. So maybe a little bit, more fun if you want to. So about, DC, check out a museum, and then maybe Philadelphia and whatever else is on the way there. So,
I've never been to New York. I think
Yeah,
that'd be cool to go.
yeah, you can arrive like a day early, do one World Trade Center, Statue of Liberty. That's what we're planning
I'd
to
like
do.
to see the stock exchange too.
Yeah, touch that bull on Wall Street, and then maybe a stroll through the Central Park. My flight, by the way, will be at 8 p.m., so we will arrive there in the morning, basically. So we'll drive along, one day, and then maybe stay overnight somewhere, and then next morning in New York and spend the day there. So it's an option. Normally I wouldn't do it, but this time the price difference is so big that I thought it might be. So, plus, as I said, you will be arguably in the most interesting place, like literally in the world. We are talking about the former Roman Empire. So we have Munich right there, not too far, Venice, Geneva, Zurich, Florence. I may be missing a couple other cities, but each of those, like you can spend a whole week there and still not even see most of it. Not to mention the Alps, very different from the Appalachian. So it would be foolish not to add a few more days and just rent a car and visit some of those places.
I know, right?
Renting cars there, so I got for a week. So you can get, it starts at about $400 per week, so you can get them for about $30 a day, and then depending on the size of the car, it goes up. The only trick, most of the cheaper cars have the manual transmission. And so, that doesn't matter to me. So I grew up in Ukraine, but my wife, for example, wouldn't know how to drive it.
Oh,
And so it may be, one of the little inconveniences that, I don't even know why they still use manual, but it's a European thing. So, but it's eventually I got one mid-size SUV for like $47 a day for about $700 or $600 for the whole week. So it seems like it's a really deal. And so in my case, it's 2 weeks because so it will be the whole event plus travel. So it's not too bad at all. So, so it's like 6 or 5, some hundred for 2 weeks. So not too bad. Yeah. So it's like 30 something per day or 40 something per day.
I tried to make it up to Czech Republic to see one of the girls in my team.
Yeah.
She lives in, I don't know how you say Brno.
Brno.
Brno. I didn't know how you say it. So
That's of all the cities in the Czech Republic. When I was in school, grade 4 or 5, we had pen pals. They had this program, and I had a guy named Vidislav Bognol in Brno. I never met him in person, but I thought maybe I'll look him up on Facebook. And so that was the city where I still have a friend. So 30 years ago.
I want to try to go visit her. So I'll be so close to you. I have to come see you. So.
No, but that would be a typical European city with the red roofs and like narrow streets. So it's one of the oldest cities in Europe. So definitely nice.
It'd be cool to go to Amsterdam.
Well, that is a little farther away because it's all the way up north. So that will be quite a drive. But as I said, Northern Europe, I guess. So
Not too bad.
yeah. Plus, even driving through for example, if you drive from here to Florida, nothing happens for like 9 hours until you get at least Fort Augustine. Like until then, it's just highway. There you have it's populated, so you have little towns and cities and then mountains. So it's an interesting drive too. So it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, so that's basically it. So I'm not sure if we're gonna. I guess once we have the challenges distributed and the teams, maybe we'll have a quick meeting sometime just to brainstorm some of the challenge ideas, and then maybe if you need some intermediate feedback, we can get maybe Karen may come here and myself. And so, but I guess other than that, you can coordinate. You have contacts, each other's contacts. So yeah, but I guess that's it. So one last time, how badly do you need the stipend? Like if we have a limited number and not everyone can get it, do you must? How do you say it? Do you? No, you don't. must you get one? Is that the proper way? Do you have to get one to be able to go, or you're okay? Like, what are your...
So what does that cover? Just cover the 895?
At this time, it seems like we will be able to cover... There was an idea to take the budget, whatever money we have now, and then whatever else we can raise, and then divide it by the number of students, and then give everyone, let's say, usually we give $500. It wouldn't cover most expenses, but it is something, and everybody gets the same. The problem with that approach is that potentially it may not matter that much to some and may not help to those who really need it that much. On the other hand, if you give stipends to some and not give to others, obviously you'll know about that and you will be, disappointed. So, and then again, me asking you how badly you need it also creates a conflict of interest because, you don't want to be the one who says, oh, I'm okay, not getting it, and then thinking maybe I should have said that, it's a matter of life and death. And so I don't really know how to manage it, but it seems like there will be some money available. And so I really don't know how to approach it and, what's the best way to distribute it. So my almost hope is that some of the people who didn't check in yet, maybe they changed their mind. Maybe the group is not as large as we thought it is, in which case maybe we'll be able to give something to everyone. So, but that's the situation at this time. So, but yes, I know that there was at least one student who was in a huge need to get the stipend. She first said, I really want to go, but I'm not going because I cannot get the money. And then eventually said, I really want to take the course, but, and then I talked a little bit, to her and then to her parents. And it seems like, yes, that's a matter of, definitely I will not be able to go without the stipend. And so I think it would be, foolish. She probably needs it more than others. Not necessarily deserves more than others, but needs more than others. But yeah. So, but yes, let us see how many people show up. At this time we have 3 and then a couple there. So if we have about 7 total, maybe we can even cover the registration for all of them, all of you, I guess. But it seems like it will be another day or 2 before we know for sure. So, all right. Okay, so then, Lauren, I guess we're going to stop here. So I'm going to end the recording.